Every morning, the world resets. A new sunrise, a new breath, a new chance. But for most people, it feels the same habits, the same thoughts, the same results. Until one day, something shifts. You wake up, look in the mirror, and realize you don't want to stay the same. You want more. Not in a greedy way, but in a soul-deep way. You want to be better. Better than yesterday. Better than the version of you who hesitated, who settled, who doubted. And the truth is, improvement doesn't come from a single grand moment. It comes from the quiet, invisible victories, the small choices you make every single day. This audiobook is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about learning how to grow a little bit more, every day, every hour, every breath. Because greatness isn't built in a day, it's built in the days that no one sees. Welcome to How to Get Better Every Single Day. This is your guide to transformation, one choice at a time. Chapter 1. The Power of 1%. Every story of greatness begins quietly, not with applause, not with lightning, but with a whisper, a single, deliberate choice to begin. Maybe you know that feeling. You wake up one morning, look around, and realize that life feels like it's on repeat. You're doing everything you're supposed to, showing up, surviving, staying busy, but deep down something's missing. It's not that you're unhappy, it's that you know there's more in you than what you've been living. That's the moment everything starts to change. The instant you decide, I can do better. Not because someone told you to, but because your soul is tired of standing still. And here's the truth. Transformation never begins with a giant leap. It starts with something so small, most people overlook it. One decision, one action, one step. That's the magic of getting 1% better every day. It doesn't sound dramatic. It doesn't sound powerful. But if you understand it, truly understand it, you hold the secret to extraordinary growth. Think about it. If you improve just a little, every single day, your focus, your health, your mindset, your patience, what happens over time? That 1% compounds, and what was once impossible slowly becomes inevitable. Because progress doesn't come from intensity, it comes from consistency. The person who shows up, again and again, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, that's the person who wins. You see, we live in a world that worships overnight success. We admire the people at the top of the mountain, but rarely talk about the years they spent climbing in silence. The truth is, small daily effort beats rare moments of greatness every single time. The 1% principle is not about perfection. It's about direction. It's not about doing everything right. It's about doing something better than yesterday, even if that something feels tiny. Reading one page instead of scrolling, walking for 10 minutes instead of skipping exercise, speaking kindly to yourself once, instead of criticizing. Because small doesn't mean insignificant, it means sustainable. It means possible. Most people fail to grow because they chase big change too fast. They want to transform overnight, lose all the weight, master all the habits, rewrite their lives in a week. And when they can't, they quit. Not because they lack ability, but because they lack patience. But you're learning something different. You're learning that real growth is quiet. It's built in private, without recognition. It's built in the moments when you choose progress over pride and persistence over perfection. Picture this: a sculptor in a dusty studio, chisel in hand. Every strike seems small, almost meaningless. But after thousands of careful hits, the stone begins to take shape. The beauty was always there, hidden beneath layers of roughness, waiting for consistent effort to reveal it. That's you. Every small improvement is a strike of the chisel. Every day of effort shapes who you are becoming. And the best part, you don't need to be amazing to start. You just need to start to become amazing. Here's what happens when you commit to getting 1% better daily. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You stop waiting for motivation and start creating momentum. You stop measuring your life by results and start valuing your process, because growth is not a moment, it's a rhythm. And once you catch that rhythm, you begin to move with life instead of against it. There will be days you don't feel like it, days when improvement feels invisible, days when your effort feels wasted. But remember, the same seed that lies buried today will rise tomorrow. Nothing you do for your growth is ever lost. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're rewriting your identity. You're becoming the kind of person who follows through, the kind of person who doesn't need the world's validation to keep going, the kind of person who builds from within. That's what 1% means. It's not a number, it's a mindset. It's the belief that no matter how far you've fallen or how long you've waited, you can begin again, right now, today. And when you start, truly start, you'll notice something powerful. The world begins to move differently around you, not because it changed, but because you did. You start seeing opportunities where you used to see obstacles. You start feeling strength where you once felt fear. You start to realize that progress isn't an event, it's a lifestyle. Let me tell you something you might not hear often. You don't need to do everything today. You just need to do something that moves you forward. One act of growth is enough to begin the ripple, because the small things, the tiny choices, the quiet moments, they don't just add up. They multiply. They shape who you are becoming when no one's watching. And that person, that's the one who changes everything. Improvement is not about changing your life overnight. It's about changing how you live today, so that tomorrow takes care of itself. So start small, but start now, because 1% today is worth more than 100% of intention that never begins. Every sunrise gives you a blank page. Every choice writes a line. And at the end of this chapter, the story you tell about your life will be written by how willing you were to grow. Remember this: no single day will make you great, but together they will make you different. 1%, that's it. That's the secret. Because 1% better, done again and again, becomes unstoppable. It becomes inevitable. It becomes you. And as we move into the next chapter, we'll explore the truth that makes this possible, the force that turns daily effort into lasting transformation. It's what separates those who talk about growth from those who live it. It's not motivation, it's something far stronger. It's discipline. So take a breath, hold this thought close, and get ready. The real work, the kind that builds greatness one day at a time, begins. Chapter 2. Discipline over motivation. There will be days when you don't feel like moving, days when the alarm clock feels heavier than your dreams, days when motivation simply doesn't show up. And that's when you face a truth that changes everything. Motivation is a visitor, discipline is a resident. Motivation knocks on your door when it feels like it. It whispers, "Let's do this," when you're already excited, already hopeful. But when life gets messy, when the energy fades, when everything in you says not today, motivation disappears. Discipline, though, discipline stays. It doesn't care if you're tired, uninspired, or uncertain. It shows up quietly, steadily, without applause, and gets to work. That's the difference between temporary change and lasting growth. Motivation pushes you when you feel good. Discipline leads you when you don't. Think about anyone you admire, the athlete, the artist, the entrepreneur, the parent, who never gives up. What separates them isn't talent or luck. It's the ability to do what must be done, even when they don't want to. Discipline is the bridge between intention and reality. It's the invisible line between I wish and I will. You see, motivation asks, do I feel like it? Discipline says, it doesn't matter. When you start to rely on discipline instead of motivation, everything shifts. Your emotions no longer dictate your actions. Your circumstances no longer define your consistency. You become the kind of person who moves, not because it's easy, but because it's right. Let's be honest, motivation feels good because it's emotional. It's that burst of energy after watching a video, hearing a speech, or imagining success. But discipline is logical. It's not about excitement, it's about commitment. Discipline says, I made a promise to myself, and I intend to keep it. That's power, because every time you honor your word, even in small things, you strengthen your identity. You start to see yourself differently. You become someone you can trust. Think of it like building a muscle. You don't become strong by lifting weights once. You become strong by lifting consistently, even when you don't feel like it. Discipline works the same way. Every time you follow through, even in discomfort, you add strength to your character. That strength compounds. It shows up in how you think, how you speak, how you live. Motivation fades. Discipline builds endurance. And here's the beautiful irony. When you stop relying on motivation and start living with discipline, motivation begins to show up more often. Why? Because success itself becomes motivating. The satisfaction of doing what you said you would do fuels you far more than any fleeting burst of inspiration ever could. There's a moment in everyone's journey when they realize this. Waiting to feel ready is the reason they've stayed stuck. You don't get ready to act, you act to get ready. Action creates momentum. Momentum builds motivation. So when that tired voice whispers, "Not today," answer with discipline, "I'll do it anyway," because every "I'll do it anyway" becomes a brick in the foundation of your future. Let's make this personal. Think about a goal you've set, maybe something you've been postponing. You're waiting for the right time, the right plan, the right feeling. But discipline knows something motivation doesn't. There is no right time. There is only right now. The moment you take the first step, no matter how small, you teach yourself that progress doesn't depend on emotion. It depends on decision. And when decisions become habits, discipline turns into identity. You stop saying "I'm trying to be consistent" and start saying "I am consistent." You stop saying "I'm working on being healthy" and start saying "I live a healthy life." That's the power of discipline. It rewires who you believe yourself to be. It's not about punishing yourself or living without joy. It's about building alignment between your goals and your actions. It's about choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. Because comfort feels good for a moment, but growth feels good for a lifetime. And discipline, it's what transforms that growth from a wish into a reality. When you wake up tomorrow, you might not feel inspired. You might not feel like doing the thing you know you should. That's okay. You don't need to feel like it. You just need to do it. The greatest freedom you'll ever experience comes when you realize you are no longer controlled by your emotions. You can feel unmotivated and still act. You can feel afraid and still move. You can feel uncertain and still choose to begin. That's what separates those who wish for better from those who become better. The disciplined do it scared, they do it tired, they do it uncertain, but they do it anyway, and every act of doing builds an unshakable confidence, the kind that no one can give you, and no one can take away. So from this moment forward, don't chase motivation, invite it if it comes, appreciate it when it stays, but don't depend on it, depend on discipline, because discipline will meet you at the door every single day. And when you look back weeks, months, or years from now, you'll realize something incredible. The days you didn't feel like showing up were the days that shaped you most. The workouts you didn't want to do, the calls you didn't want to make, the mornings you didn't want to rise, those moments built the version of you that no longer needs motivation. That version of you doesn't wait for perfect conditions. They create them, they move, they grow, they keep going. Because discipline is not just an action, it's a declaration. It's saying to the world and to yourself, I am in charge of me, and that's the beginning of real power. So, as we turn the page to the next chapter, we'll go deeper into what keeps that discipline alive. Because discipline without consistency fades into frustration. But when you master the rhythm of repetition, the art of showing up again and again, you create unstoppable momentum. The next chapter will show you how to make that happen. It's not about pushing harder, it's about showing up smarter. And that's where we're going next. Into the quiet, powerful force that shapes all transformation, consistency. Chapter 3. The Power of Consistency. There's a moment in every great story, a quiet, unseen moment, where everything that follows is decided. It's not the victory, not the applause, it's the day no one's watching, when the choice is made to keep going. That's the true test, because greatness isn't built in moments of glory, it's built in the rhythm of repetition, in the silent promise you make to yourself, I'll show up again tomorrow. Consistency. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But it's the hardest, most transformative habit you'll ever build. Consistency is not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about waking up and doing what matters, even when the excitement is gone, even when progress feels invisible, even when life gives you every reason to stop. The truth is, most people don't fail because they lack talent or vision. They fail because they can't endure the quiet, unglamorous work that progress demands. The work that doesn't go viral, the work that doesn't get noticed, the work that only you can see. Imagine a single drop of water falling on stone. One drop, then another, then another. At first, nothing changes. But over time, that steady rhythm carves through the rock itself. Not through power, through persistence. That's the essence of consistency. It's not forceful, it's faithful. It's not dramatic, it's dependable. Consistency is what turns effort into mastery, dreams into discipline, and potential into power. When you look at people who've built something extraordinary, a business, a body, a mindset, a life, what you'll always find underneath it is consistency. A long trail of days that looked the same. Days when they showed up, even when no one believed in them. Days when they built momentum, one quiet victory at a time. The human mind loves excitement. We crave novelty, change, something new to chase. But the soul grows in repetition, in the sacred act of showing up, again and again, until the process itself becomes who you are. Think about it. You brush your teeth every day. You don't celebrate it. You don't skip it. It's simply who you are. A person who takes care of themselves. Now imagine if your dreams, your health, your mindset became that same kind of habit. Something so natural that it's no longer a question of if you'll do it, but when. That's where transformation begins. When consistency stops being effort and starts being identity. Here's the secret. Consistency doesn't demand huge effort. It only asks for daily effort. It's not about running a marathon every morning. It's about taking one intentional step every single day without fail. Because one small act, repeated over time, beats 1,000 grand intentions never lived. You might not see results right away, and that's the hardest part. The human brain is wired for feedback. We crave proof that our work is working. But consistency requires faith. Faith that your actions are planting roots before they ever show results. When you can hold that faith, when you can keep watering the soil before you see the sprout, that's when you separate yourself from the rest. Most people quit, not because it's impossible, but because they can't handle being invisible for a while. They can't stand the silence between effort and reward. But that silence, that's where growth happens. It's like training in the dark while everyone else sleeps. You're building strength no one can see until one day It becomes undeniable. Consistency doesn't mean doing everything perfectly. It means doing something, even on the days when everything feels impossible. Show up with what you have, even if it's just half your energy, even if it's just 5 minutes. Because 5 minutes of consistency will always beat 0 minutes of intention. And here's something most people overlook. Consistency doesn't only build results, it builds trust in yourself. Every time you follow through, your mind begins to believe you. You start to see yourself as someone who keeps promises. That belief changes everything. When you believe in your own consistency, you no longer chase motivation. You are the motivation. You become reliable, resilient, unstoppable. That's the kind of confidence that can't be fake, because it's not built on hype. It's built on evidence. Evidence of you, showing up over and over again. Let's make it real. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a forest. Your dream is on the other side, but there's no clear path. Only tall grass, thick trees, and unknown distance. You can't see the finish line. You can only take one step. So you do, then another, and another. At first, it feels like nothing's happening. But after a while, you notice something. Behind you, a trail has formed. A path that wasn't there before. That's what consistency does. It clears the path forward, one step at a time. And eventually that path becomes so strong, it can guide others too. Consistency isn't glamorous. It's not loud, but it's the foundation of every extraordinary life. The secret is not in doing more. It's in doing enough, every single day. Because what you repeat, you reinforce. And what you reinforce, you become. You don't have to rush, you just have to repeat. And repetition, over time, becomes identity. You no longer try to be disciplined. You are disciplined. You no longer hope to improve. You do improve because it's who you are now. And when you become consistent, something beautiful happens. The weight of effort starts to fade, and the rhythm of growth begins to carry you. It stops feeling like a battle, and starts feeling like breathing. That's when you know you've crossed the line, from trying to transform, to living transformation. So if you're listening right now and wondering where to start here. Start today. Start with one action you can repeat tomorrow. And when tomorrow comes, do it again. Because it's not the dramatic days that define you. It's the ordinary ones, the quiet mornings, the unseen efforts, the small, consistent steps that whisper, "I'm still moving." That's the heartbeat of growth. And when you truly master it, when consistency becomes your nature, you'll realize that nothing can stop you except stopping yourself. But there's something else that will challenge you even more than inconsistency, something subtle, yet powerful. It's the comfort that creeps in once you start making progress. The illusion that says, you're doing enough, you can relax now. That comfort is dangerous, because while consistency builds you, comfort begins to blind you. And that's where we're headed next. Into the truth about comfort, how it quietly traps your potential, and how to break free from its grip before it steals your growth. Because progress without awareness becomes stagnation, and the moment you stop stretching, you stop growing. Let's step into that truth together in the next chapter, Breaking the Loop of Comfort. Chapter 4, Breaking the Loop of Comfort. Comfort is silent. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come crashing through the door, demanding your attention. It slips in quietly, sits beside you, and whispers, "You've done enough. Rest here a while." At first it feels like peace. You've worked hard. You've pushed yourself. You've earned this break. But slowly, without realizing it, that break becomes a pause, and the pause becomes your new normal. That's the trap of comfort. It feels safe, but it's a slow suffocation of your potential. Comfort is seductive because it disguises itself as happiness. It tells you you're content, when in truth, You've just stopped growing. It convinces you you're protecting your peace, when you're really protecting your limits. There's a difference between rest and comfort. Rest renews you. Comfort restrains you. Rest gives you energy to rise again. Comfort convinces you there's no need to rise at all. Look around. The world changes every day. People evolve, technology advances, opportunities shift. But comfort stays exactly the same. And if you let it, it will keep you exactly the same too. The truth is, comfort zones are not safe zones. They're invisible cages, soft on the inside, but lined with walls you stop noticing. You tell yourself you're fine, but somewhere deep inside, a part of you knows you're shrinking. Growth begins where comfort ends, not where you feel ready, but where you feel resistance. Not when it's convenient, but when it's necessary. Think about the most meaningful moments in your life, the ones that changed you, shaped you, stretched you. Did any of them come from comfort? No. They came from risk, from uncertainty, from challenge. They came from moments when you didn't know if you could, but you tried anyway. That's where transformation lives, on the edge of discomfort. But here's what most people get wrong. Breaking the loop of comfort doesn't mean living in constant struggle. It means refusing to settle for what no longer challenges you. It's about finding peace within growth, not instead of growth. Every comfort zone once started as a challenge. Think about that. The things that feel easy today, the job you know well, the skills you've mastered, the routines you've built, they were once hard, but you grew, adapted, and made them familiar. So if you've done it before, you can do it again. You can evolve into your next level, because you are not meant to stay in yesterday's comfort. Comfort feeds complacency. Complacency feeds decline. And decline doesn't announce itself. It begins quietly, with a single decision to stay still when your soul is asking you to move. Let's make this real. Imagine standing at the shoreline of your life. Behind you, calm waters, everything you know, everything you've mastered. Ahead of you, waves, unpredictable, untamed, alive. You hesitate. The waves look daunting, maybe even dangerous. But the truth is, the calm behind you isn't safety, it's stagnation. The real life, the deeper growth, is always found in the waves. You're not meant to live anchored, you're meant to sail. The most successful, fulfilled people you'll ever meet, they've made peace with discomfort. They don't chase ease, they chase expansion. They understand that pressure is not punishment, it's preparation. Every challenge you face is not trying to break you, it's trying to build capacity within you. Because every time you stretch, your limits stretch with you. When you embrace discomfort, you train your mind to adapt, instead of avoid. You learn to see uncertainty not as a threat, but as an invitation to evolve. Ask yourself right now, where have you become comfortable? Where have you stopped demanding more from yourself? What area of your life have you convinced yourself is good enough? Maybe it's your health, maybe it's your relationships, maybe it's your mindset, the stories you tell yourself about what's possible. That's where you need to begin again. That's where the next version of you is waiting. But here's the paradox. Breaking comfort doesn't always look like big change. Sometimes it's in the small choices, the tiny moments where you could stay silent, but choose to speak, where you could delay, but choose to start, where you could hide, but choose to be seen. That's how you reclaim your growth, decision by decision, moment by moment, not by fighting comfort, but by outgrowing it. The problem isn't that comfort exists, it's that we start to identify with it. We begin to believe this is who I am now. But that's the lie. You are not your comfort, you are your capacity to grow beyond it. Think about fire. It can only exist by consuming fuel. If it stops burning, it goes out. That's your spirit. It's meant to stay alive, through motion, through expansion, through the friction of becoming. So when life feels too easy, too predictable, when your days start to blur together, and your inner fire feels dim, that's not peace. That's your soul calling for more. Answer that call. Step into the unknown again. Not because it's easy, but because you were never meant to stay where you began. You can love where you are, and still long for more. You can be grateful for now, and still chase growth. Gratitude doesn't mean settling. It means expanding from a place of appreciation. The goal isn't to destroy comfort. It's to redefine it, to make growth your new comfort zone, to feel most alive, not when things are easy, but when you're evolving. The moment you make discomfort familiar, you unlock a power most people never touch. The ability to walk into the unknown and feel at home there. That's freedom. That's mastery. That's life fully lived. And when you understand this, when you stop chasing comfort and start chasing growth, you stop fearing change. Because you realize change is not the end of something safe. It's the beginning of something stronger. So step forward. Let the old comfort fade, because the next version of you is waiting in the discomfort you've been avoiding. That's where your courage lives. That's where your confidence is born. That's where your life expands. And once you break the loop of comfort, you begin to see life differently. You stop measuring success by ease and start measuring it by evolution, because every version of you that comes next deserves a little discomfort and a lot of growth. In the next chapter, we'll go even deeper into the unseen force that fuels all change. Because no matter how disciplined, consistent, or courageous you are, if your beliefs stay small, your life will too. And it's time to rewrite the beliefs that have been holding you back. Chapter 5. The stories you tell yourself. Every person is born into a story told by their family, their culture, their experiences, and the voices around them. But as you grow, something powerful happens. You begin to tell stories of your own, not to others, but to yourself. And those stories, they become the foundation of your reality. The mind is a master storyteller. It doesn't just describe the world, it creates it. Every decision you make, every limit you set, every dream you chase or abandon, it all begins with the story you believe about who you are and what you deserve. Think about it. Every morning before you even speak a word, your mind starts narrating, "I'm tired, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough." Or maybe, "I've got this. I can handle anything today brings." The words change everything, because your brain believes your story every single time. If you tell yourself you're unlucky, your mind will filter out every opportunity that contradicts that. If you tell yourself you're bad with people, you'll subconsciously avoid connection. If you tell yourself you're not the kind of person who succeeds, you'll find ways to prove that story right. Your story becomes your evidence. It's not that you lack potential, it's that you've been reading from the wrong script. You've been carrying chapters written by fear, doubt, and past pain, and mistaking them for truth. But here's the truth. You are not your story. You are the storyteller. That changes everything. The stories you tell yourself are powerful because your brain doesn't distinguish between imagination and memory. It treats what you tell it as real. So when you tell yourself a better story, one rooted in strength, growth, and resilience, your brain begins to act in alignment with that story. You literally change your behavior, your emotions, even your biology. That's why the most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. You could spend your life trying to change habits, environments, or relationships, But if the story you believe about yourself doesn't change, nothing truly will. Here's a question to sit with. What is the story you've been telling yourself, and when was the last time you questioned it? Maybe your story says, "I'm just not confident," but was that story born from truth, or from a single moment years ago? A teacher's criticism, a parent's silence, a friend's rejection. Maybe your story says, "People always leave," but what if that was just one person, one season, one pain that became a permanent label? Or maybe your story says, "I always fail," but how many times have you actually fallen and still stood back up? Your story determines your self-concept, and your self-concept determines your limits. So if you want to change your life, you must start by changing your narrative. Let's make it tangible. Imagine your mind as a bookshelf. Each book represents a story you believe about yourself. Some of them are empowering. "I am capable. I am evolving. I can handle change." But others are heavy, filled with pain. "I always mess things up. Nothing ever works out for me." Those books have been collecting dust for years, yet you keep rereading them. You know every word by heart. But here's the beautiful part. You can rewrite them. You can take out the chapters that no longer serve you and replace them with new ones that align with who you're becoming. The process isn't easy. Rewriting your story means confronting the parts of you that feel safe in limitation. Because even painful stories bring comfort when they're familiar. They give you identity, even if it's one that hurts. But to grow, you must risk letting go of who you've been to discover who you can be. So how do you begin? Start by noticing your inner dialogue. Listen to how you speak to yourself, not when things are going well, but when you make mistakes. Do you talk like a critic or a coach? Do you tear yourself down or remind yourself that progress is messy and growth takes time? Because every word you repeat becomes a brick in the structure of your self-belief. If you build that structure with doubt, it will crumble under pressure. But if you build it with truth, compassion, and persistence, it will hold up against anything. Your mind will always try to confirm what you believe. So give it something worth confirming. Start small, replace one story at a time. Instead of saying, "I'm terrible at this," say, "I'm still learning this." Instead of, "I always fail," say, "I'm improving with every attempt." Instead of, "This is just who I am," say, "I'm becoming who I'm meant to be." You're not pretending, you're practicing a new language of self-belief until your brain recognizes it as truth. Remember this: belief always precedes ability. You must first believe you can before you prove that you will. No one ever mastered a skill they believed was impossible for them. The difference between who you are and who you want to be is the story you tell yourself in the space between. If your story is rooted in fear, your future will shrink to match it. But if your story is rooted in possibility, your future expands beyond imagination. Here's the secret most people never realize: your story doesn't have to be heroic to be powerful. It just has to be honest. Honest about where you've been, honest about where you want to go, and honest about the fact that growth takes time. But you're still showing up anyway. The person who rewrites their story isn't the one with the most talent or opportunity. It's the one with the courage to say, "This isn't the end of my narrative. I'm choosing a new chapter." So right now, ask yourself, what chapter are you writing? Is it one of hesitation or courage, fear or faith? Are you replaying your past or rewriting your future? Because every day, with every choice, you are holding the pen. And the story you write in your mind today will become the reality you live tomorrow. So speak to yourself with the voice of your highest self, the one who sees beyond fear, beyond failure, beyond what others expect. Tell yourself the story of your strength, your resilience, your becoming. Repeat it until it echoes louder than your doubts. Because when your inner voice becomes your ally instead of your enemy, nothing external can hold you back for long. You don't need to erase the past. You just need to stop rereading it. Start writing the story you want to live, one page at a time. And remember, your story isn't over. It's just beginning. In the next chapter, we'll explore the bridge between belief and action, how to turn your rewritten story into real, measurable progress. Because belief without movement is just imagination, and it's time to bring your story to life. Chapter 6. The Power of Stillness. There is a kind of strength that doesn't shout, doesn't rush, and doesn't demand attention. It's the strength that comes from stillness, the quiet space between your thoughts, the silent pause before your reaction, the deep breath you take when the world feels too loud. We live in a world that glorifies noise. Everyone is talking, rushing, posting, proving. But somewhere in all that noise, the quiet ones, the grounded ones, they hold a secret kind of power. Because stillness is not the absence of movement, it's the mastery of it. Think about a mountain. It doesn't move, yet it shapes the wind. It doesn't chase the storm, yet it endures it. Its stillness isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And in many ways, that's what real inner strength looks like. Most people believe that progress comes only from action, from doing more, chasing more, achieving more. But the truth is, not every step forward looks like movement. Sometimes it's a pause. Sometimes it's the decision to stop reacting. Sometimes it's learning to listen before you speak, or to breathe before you respond. Stillness teaches us to see clearly. When your mind quiets, life becomes sharper, not because the world has changed, but because you've finally stopped distorting it with constant motion. You begin to see people for who they really are, situations for what they truly mean, and yourself for what you've always. Clarity doesn't come from control. It comes from surrender. When you stop trying to force the future, you begin to hear the quiet rhythm of what's already unfolding. And in that rhythm, life begins to guide you, gently but powerfully. I remember once meeting a man who had everything: money, status, influence, but he was exhausted, anxious, and always running towards something unseen. One day he told me, "I can't sit still. It feels like if I stop, everything will fall apart." And that's when I realized stillness terrifies the restless, because stillness confronts you with yourself. It strips away distraction and leaves you face to face with truth. Yet that's where transformation begins. When you allow silence to speak, you start to understand the language of your own heart. You start to hear the wisdom that your busy mind has been drowning out. You realize that what you were chasing wasn't always purpose. Sometimes it was just noise. Stillness doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing things with presence. When you drink your coffee, drink it fully. When you talk to someone, listen completely. When you work, work with awareness, not lost in the next task, but grounded in the one before you. That's how stillness moves, slowly, deliberately, meaningfully. Think of water. When it's agitated, it's cloudy and unsettled. But when it's still, it reflects the sky. Your mind works the same way. When you quiet the chaos within, you begin to reflect the truth around you, clearly, calmly, and beautifully. Stillness is also an act of rebellion, because in a world that profits from your distraction, being calm, centered, and mindful is revolutionary. You're no longer reacting to every impulse, every headline, every opinion. You're choosing what deserves your energy, and that is freedom. The greatest decisions in your life will not come from moments of chaos. They'll come in moments of stillness, when you stop chasing, stop forcing, and start feeling. Because clarity doesn't shout, it whispers. And you can only hear it when you slow down long enough to listen. Maybe you've been running lately from expectations, from pressure, from uncertainty. Maybe you've been told that slowing down means you're falling behind. But here's the truth. You can't lose what's meant for you by pausing. You only lose it by being too distracted to see it when it arrives. So pause, breathe, look around. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be to receive what's next. The world will always try to pull you outward into noise, urgency and chaos, but your power lies inward, in that quiet space where you decide how to respond, what to value, and who to become. Stillness is not passive. It's an active choice, to protect your peace, to reclaim your time, and to return to your own rhythm. Because when you master stillness, you no longer chase alignment, you are alignment. So the next time life feels overwhelming, don't rush to fix it. Sit with it. Let the silence teach you what words come. You might find that the answers you've been searching for were always waiting in the quiet. And perhaps that's the lesson of this chapter, that in a world addicted to motion, your peace will come from your pause, because when the noise fades, what remains is truth, and truth in its quietest form is powerful enough to move mountains within you. Now take this stillness with you, not as an escape from life, but as a way to live it more deeply. Because the next chapter isn't about what you'll do, it's about who you'll become when you finally stop running and start listening to the quiet voice within.
Chapter 7. The Art of Letting Go. There comes a moment in every life when holding on begins to hurt more than letting go. It doesn't happen suddenly. It starts quietly, a tension in your chest, a restlessness in your spirit, a sense that what once felt right now feels heavy. We resist it at first. We tell ourselves that letting go means failure, that it means giving up, that if we just hold on a little longer, it will all make sense again. But life has a way of whispering the truth to us. You cannot grow if your hands are full of what you've outgrown. Letting go isn't about losing. It's about clearing space for what's meant to arrive. It's an act of courage, not surrender. It's trusting that what is meant to stay will stay, and what is meant to leave will free you. Think of a tree in autumn. It doesn't mourn the falling leaves. It doesn't clutch them tighter as the wind begins to blow. It simply lets them fall, not because it stops caring, but because it understands the rhythm of seasons. To bloom again, it must release what no longer serves it. And so must we. Many people live years, even decades, anchored to what's already gone. Old dreams, past loves, familiar pain. They build their identity around what hurt them, instead of what healed them. But healing doesn't come from rewriting the past. It comes from releasing its hold on your present. There's something deeply human about wanting to fix everything. We replay moments in our mind, imagining better outcomes, searching for closure that may never come. But closure isn't something you're given, it's something you create. It's the quiet decision to stop asking why and start saying enough. Letting go is not a single act, it's a process. It's waking up one day and realizing you didn't think about it as much. It's smiling at a memory that used to break you. It's finding peace in places where pain once lived. And even though you may still feel the ache of what was, you begin to see the beauty of what's becoming. You see, the mind clings to what is familiar, even if it hurts, because pain too can become a comfort zone. We tell ourselves, at least I know this, as if familiarity were safer than freedom. But real peace begins when you choose uncertainty over imprisonment. Sometimes the hardest thing to release isn't a person or a situation. It's the version of yourself that existed within it. You might miss who you were when you were with them, or who you hope to become through that chapter. But growth means outgrowing even your old selves. The person you're becoming cannot breathe inside the story you've already told. When you let go, you don't erase the past. You honor it for what it taught you. You take the wisdom, the strength, the lessons, and you leave behind the weight, because not everything that came with you was meant to continue with you. There's freedom in that realization.
freedom to feel light again, freedom to make room for new beginnings. Because life will keep trying to hand you new blessings, but you can't receive them if your hands are full of old burdens. Think about it. How many moments of joy have we missed because we were too busy holding on to something we couldn't change? How many new opportunities have we turned away because our hearts were still tied to what had already ended? The past can be a beautiful teacher, but it's a terrible master. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering without resentment. It means you can tell the story without feeling the sting. It means your scars have turned into symbols of strength, not open wounds that bleed into the present. And when you finally let go, truly let go, you'll notice something extraordinary. Peace will no longer feel distant. It will feel natural. You'll breathe differently, walk lighter, and begin to see that endings are just beginnings in disguise. There will be days when the urge to go back feels strong. You'll miss the comfort of the known, even if it hurt you. That's okay. That's part of healing, revisiting, remembering, and then gently reminding yourself, you are building something new now. You are walking forward. Life is a constant exchange, releasing, receiving, renewing. The ocean teaches this better than anything. Every wave that leaves the shore makes room for another to arrive. It's a rhythm, not a loss. And so it is with you. Sometimes the universe won't open the next door until you've had the courage to close the last one yourself. Because holding on to what's gone blocks what's waiting. The space between letting go and what comes next is not emptiness. It's preparation. It's the pause before the next chapter of your becoming. So if you're standing at that threshold now, uncertain, afraid, yet quietly ready, take the step, release what was, bless it for what it gave you, and trust that what's meant for you will find its way without you having to chase it. Because sometimes the most powerful act of faith isn't holding tighter, it's opening your hand. And when you do, you'll find that letting go doesn't leave you with less, it leaves you with space. Space for healing, space for peace, space for what was always meant to be yours. The next chapter begins there, in that sacred emptiness, where endings transform into beginnings, and where loss quietly becomes liberation. Chapter 8. The Power of Solitude. There's a certain kind of silence that doesn't just surround you, it transforms you. It's the silence that comes when the noise of the world fades, when your phone is off, your obligations paused, and all that remains is you, raw, unfiltered, present. For most people, that kind of silence is terrifying, because when the world goes quiet, your inner world grows louder. Your thoughts start to echo. Your fears, your regrets, your unhealed wounds, they surface. And that's exactly why solitude feels uncomfortable. It holds a mirror up to the soul, showing you everything you've been running from. But what if solitude isn't something to fear, but something sacred to return to? We live in a world addicted to distraction. We scroll, we talk, we consume, filling every quiet moment with noise because silence feels too honest. But the truth is, the most profound discoveries about life and about yourself don't happen in chaos. They happen in stillness. Solitude is not loneliness. Loneliness is the hunger for connection. Solitude is the presence of self. Loneliness drains you. Solitude restores you. Loneliness asks, who will be with me? Solitude asks, who am I when I'm alone? And that question, though simple, is one of the most powerful you can ever ask. Because until you learn to be at peace with your own company, every relationship, every decision will be shaped by the fear of being alone. Think about it. How many people stay in places that no longer serve them, in relationships that suffocate their spirit, in jobs that drain their energy, simply because they're afraid of what happens when they're alone. But solitude isn't a punishment, it's a teacher. It strips away the noise, the roles you play, the expectations you try to meet, and it reveals who you are beneath it all. When you finally allow yourself to sit in solitude, something incredible happens. You begin to hear your own voice again, not the one shaped by others, but the one born from your soul. It's the voice that says, "This is who I am, this is what I need, this is where I'm going." In solitude, you remember what truly matters. You realize that peace isn't found in someone else's approval. It's found in your own acceptance. You remember that happiness isn't a constant rush. It's the quiet joy of knowing you're living in alignment with your truth. Some of the most powerful moments of transformation in life don't come from doing more. They come from pausing, reflecting, and listening. The world teaches us to chase, but solitude teaches us to receive clarity, to receive peace, to receive ourselves again. There's a reason why every great thinker, every visionary, every spiritual master spent time alone, not to escape the world, but to understand it, because you can't lead, love, or create from a place of constant noise. You must first learn the language of silence. Silence speaks, if you're willing to listen. It tells you what needs healing. It shows you what you've been avoiding. It reveals what you truly value, and it gives you the strength to return to the world more grounded, more intentional, more whole. You might be wondering, how do you begin? How do you find peace in solitude? When you've spent your whole life surrounded by noise, you begin small. 5 minutes of stillness in the morning, a walk without your phone, an evening spent in quiet reflection instead of endless scrolling. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be honest. At first, your mind will resist. It will reach for distraction, craving the comfort of activity. But if you stay, if you breathe through the discomfort, you'll find that the silence starts to feel like home. And within that stillness, your spirit will begin to speak. Solitude gives you perspective. It helps you step back from your life and ask, am I living by choice or by habit? Am I being led by love or by fear? It's in those moments of self-inquiry that real change begins. Because when you spend time alone, you stop performing for the world. You stop living to impress or please. You begin to act from authenticity. And that authenticity, that inner alignment, is where your true power lives. In solitude, you realize you are enough, not because someone else says so, but because you finally feel it within your own heart. You learn that self-respect is not built in crowds. It's built in quiet moments of truth. You learn that healing doesn't always require talking. Sometimes it just requires listening. When you emerge from solitude, you don't come back the same. You return clearer, calmer, less reactive to the chaos around you. You begin to see that most things that once consumed you were never really as important as they seemed. The noise fades, and what remains is truth, simple, steady, undeniable. The world tells you that solitude means isolation, but solitude, when chosen, is liberation. It's the freedom to know yourself, to understand your direction, to fill your own cup before you pour into others. It's where strength is born, it's where clarity is found, and it's where peace begins. So take time to be with yourself, not to escape life, but to connect more deeply with it. Walk alone, sit in silence, listen to the quiet pulse of your own being, because in the stillness, you'll find everything you've been searching for elsewhere. Solitude doesn't separate you from the world, it prepares you for it. It reminds you that you are your own home, your own source of peace, your own foundation of strength. And once you've found that within yourself, no storm, no noise, no chaos can ever truly shake you again. As we move forward, Remember this: the time you spend alone isn't time lost. It's time invested, because every moment of solitude brings you closer to the person you were always meant to be. And in the next chapter, we'll explore what happens when that newfound inner strength meets the outer world, when you stop seeking balance and start becoming it. Chapter 9. The Power of Stillness. There are moments in life when everything around you seems to move faster than you can breathe. The noise, the expectations, the deadlines, the endless scrolling of the modern world, all pulling at your attention, one fragment at a time. And yet, in the middle of that storm, there exists a space most people never visit. A quiet space, a sacred pause, the space between thoughts, where peace, clarity, and truth live. Stillness isn't the absence of movement. It's the presence of awareness. It's the moment when you stop chasing the next thing long enough to realize that everything you've been running after has been quietly waiting inside you all along. When you learn to be still, you begin to hear the whisper beneath the noise, the whisper of your own soul. That voice doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It simply waits patiently, tenderly, knowing that one day you'll stop long enough to listen. The modern world glorifies movement, more doing, more achieving, more proving. But if you're always in motion, you never truly arrive anywhere. You just keep running from your fears, your past, your doubts, your silence. Stillness asks you to stop running, to face yourself, not the image you show the world, but the truth of who you are when no one's watching. It's in stillness that you remember you're not your achievements, you're not your mistakes, you're not the noise of the world. You are awareness itself, the quiet witness behind it all. Most people think silence is empty, but silence is full of wisdom, full of answers, full of truth. When you finally stop trying to fill every gap with sound or distraction, the silence begins to speak. And when it speaks, it doesn't speak in words, it speaks in knowing. Think about this. When was the last time you sat with yourself, without a screen, without a goal, without something to escape into? We spend so much time feeding the outer world, and so little time nourishing the inner one. Yet everything meaningful, peace, clarity, love, creativity, grows from within that inner soil of stillness. Stillness is not laziness. It's not apathy. It's power under control. It's choosing to pause so your next move comes from wisdom, not from impulse. In that pause, you realign, you reconnect with your values, your purpose, your center. It's where your intuition lives, that quiet guidance that never lies. The world will always reward noise. It will celebrate those who shout the loudest, move the fastest, and never stop to breathe. But peace belongs to those who know how to stand still in a rushing world and not be swept away. Stillness doesn't mean your life stops. It means you stop fighting with it. You stop demanding the river to flow your way, and instead you learn to float, trusting that the current knows the path better than you do. That's what inner peace really is, not the absence of chaos, but the calm within it. There's a quiet strength in people who can remain composed when others panic. There's a rare confidence in those who can say, "I don't need to respond yet. I'll wait until it feels right," because wisdom is never rushed. Truth doesn't shout. And what's meant for you will never require you to chase it desperately. It will arrive in its time when you're still enough to receive it. The hardest part of stillness isn't the silence. It's meeting what the silence shows you. It will show you your distraction. It will show you your wounds. It will show you what you've been avoiding. But it will also show you your resilience, your compassion, and the quiet beauty of your own being. That's why so few people practice stillness, not because it's difficult, but because it's honest. Stillness strips away the masks you wear for the world. It leaves you face to face with yourself, and that can be uncomfortable. But that discomfort is the doorway to growth, to real self-knowledge, to freedom. When you learn to be still, you stop trying to control every outcome. You begin to see that life unfolds best when you're not gripping it so tightly. You discover that patience is not waiting, it's trusting the process, trusting timing, trusting yourself. The mind wants to fix, plan and predict. The soul simply wants to experience. When you enter stillness, you shift from the mind's tension to the soul's surrender. And in that surrender, you find peace, not because everything is perfect, but because you no longer need it to be. Stillness is your greatest teacher. It doesn't use language, it uses presence. It doesn't give answers, it reveals them. It doesn't rush you forward, it brings you home back to yourself. Take this truth with you. You don't need to add more to become whole. You simply need to stop long enough to remember that you already are. Pause, breathe. That's the beginning of wisdom. That's the essence of freedom. And as you step forward from this moment, carry one quiet intention with you: to listen more than you speak, to feel more than you think, to be more than you do. Because in the stillness between moments lies everything you've been searching for. And in the next chapter, we'll explore how to move again, not from noise or reaction, but from alignment. How to act with clarity, intention, and power, guided by the wisdom that only stillness can awaken. Chapter 10. Becoming the architect of your life. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing at the top of a mountain. The wind brushes your face. The sky stretches endlessly above you. Beneath your feet, valleys, rivers, and forests spread in every direction. Now imagine that this mountain, this vast panorama, is your life. Every path, every river, every peak, shaped by choices, actions, and moments that felt insignificant at the time. Here's the truth. Most people wander through life as if they're walking someone else's map, following paths that were drawn by expectation, habit, fear. They respond to circumstances rather than create them. But you, the one listening right now, you have the power to redraw the map, to take the tools of your experiences, your wisdom, and your insights, and build a life that is deliberate, meaningful, and extraordinary. This chapter is about becoming the architect of your life, not a passive resident, but the master planner. It's about recognizing that every day, every hour, every decision is a brick, a stroke, a line in the blueprint of your existence. Start with the foundation. What do you truly value? Not what society tells you, not what your friends or family expect, but what resonates deep within your heart. What do you want to protect? What do you want to grow? The clarity of your values is the bedrock upon which everything else is built. Next, examine your structures. What habits are supporting you? Which ones are weakening your foundation? The small, daily choices, how you wake, what you focus on, how you speak to yourself. These seemingly minor details shape the integrity of your life far more than grand gestures ever will. A life built without conscious attention is like a house built without checking the walls, beautiful at first glance, but shaky under pressure. Vision is your blueprint. If you don't know where you want to go, any path will feel right, and most will lead you astray. Take time to imagine your life fully realized, the person you are, the relationships you nurture, the impact you make, the peace you carry. See it vividly, feel it as if it exists now, and let that vision guide your actions. The mind can create obstacles, the heart can dream, but the body must act. Vision without action is just a painting on a wall. Action without vision is wandering in the dark. Together, they build the life you were meant to live. Embrace the role of designer, but understand the role of adaptability. Even the best plans encounter storms. Life is never entirely predictable, and rigidity leads to frustration. The architect who thrives is the one who can adjust the blueprint when necessary, while keeping the core design intact. Flexibility is not compromise, it is resilience in motion. Take ownership of your narrative. No one else can live your story for you. You can borrow advice, follow guidance, or be inspired, but the pen in your hand is yours alone. And the stories you tell yourself matter. Stories of limitation shrink your world. Stories of possibility expand it. The architect understands the weight of narrative, how each thought, each belief, shapes the walls and windows of their life. This is also where courage comes into play. Building a meaningful life requires boldness. It demands choices that might feel uncomfortable, paths that others don't understand, and the willingness to face uncertainty with confidence. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's choosing action in spite of it. Every brick you lay in fear will eventually crack. Every brick laid with courage strengthens the structure. Don't forget the importance of beauty. Life is not merely functional, it is an art. The architect who neglects beauty loses wonder, joy, and inspiration along the way. Celebrate moments, savor experiences, cultivate relationships, and honor creativity. These are the decorative flourishes that turn a house into a home. Reflection is your compass. Regularly pause to survey your creation. Where are the cracks? Where is the light entering? What areas need reinforcement, redesign, or expansion? Without reflection, even a master plan can become stagnant. With reflection, your life evolves in alignment with who you are becoming, not who you were yesterday. And finally, understand the legacy of your architecture. Every choice, every action, every thought leaves a trace, not only in your life, but in the lives of those around you. The life you design becomes a framework for others, your children, your friends, your community, a source of inspiration, support, and transformation. To build well is to serve. Here's the secret: the greatest architects are not those who follow trends, or seek perfection, or try to please the world. They are those who design with authenticity, who respect the integrity of their foundation, who act with courage, who pause in stillness to reflect, and who commit to building something enduring and true. So take a deep breath. Look at the life you've built so far. Honor the work, acknowledge the lessons, and envision what comes next. Your hands are capable, your mind is creative, your heart knows the way. Every day is another opportunity to lay a brick, refine a line, adjust a corner, and bring your vision into reality. The journey doesn't end here. It continues with every sunrise, every decision, every moment of presence. You are not merely living, you are designing, shaping, and creating. And with that awareness, life becomes a masterpiece in progress, one conscious, deliberate, beautiful choice at a time. Remember this: you are the architect, your life is your design, and the next moment is your chance to build it even better. As we conclude this audiobook, carry that understanding into every day. Carry the courage, the clarity, the stillness, and the vision. Know that improvement, growth, and transformation are not fleeting. They are the very materials of your life's architecture. And now, as you step back into the world, you do so with intention, purpose, and power. Your life is yours to create, consciously, beautifully, unshakably. Build it well, build it fully, build it every single day.